Okay, so sorry, third time lucky. Jhey, you might as well introduce yourself and tell people who you are, what you're doing, and everything else.
Howdy all. Yeah, it's kind of weird because it's about a minute behind on here. So, but yeah, I think Niall's probably done a pretty good job of introducing me on the meeting details, and yeah, I'm very fortunate he's selected me to come on board and give this little sort of informal workshop and some insight into how I go about creating some things. And yeah, looking forward to kind of doing this. Obviously, I'm relatively active on Twitter. You may have seen me on there. I mean, Niall pretty much publicizes me, so thank you very much for that. And yeah, I'm pretty active on CodePen. They're the two main places you might see my work. But obviously, if you see my face, you probably aren't recognizing that because normally it's a bear avatar.
Yeah,
So
and I was giving out. I was always wanted just to have a bear. Like I was expecting a bear suit or something, over the top.
my I've just been cut off though on here, so I can't actually see. Is it everything's still live, right?
Yeah, I think you're still good.
Yep, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm just not going to be able to see myself and make sure I'm not making a mess of things. I'm just going to have
That's
to.
all right. I'll tell you if you start drooling or anything.
If the cocks start whirring and the eyes start going, then we're in trouble.
For sure. I think you'll be sharing your screen for most of the part as well.
Yeah. So I'm happy to jump in whenever you want me to.
Yeah, well, I suppose just I know you're going to plug yourself and all the things at the end. Is there recently, I guess, and I suppose this is something I've only discovered you recently enough through Twitter, obviously, when I'm sharing things and everything else. But I suppose anyone that's seen you is obviously like, this is the most amazing stuff ever, and you're like, oh, it's easy. You just have to know this wizardry. Is there anything is there anything that you think you learned which most people don't learn that really helped you become as proficient in CSS as you have?
I don't know, really. It's a kind of tough one. So I'm just very curious. Like I see something, I want to make it, I want to do it, and I always look for another challenge. So like I'm constantly kind of looking for things to kind of challenge myself. I want to learn stuff. There's also some like ridiculously good communities out there and people that will help. Like I don't know everything. Like I know some people message me saying like, what's this wizardry? Teach me.
That was me.
Know it all. Like, like I didn't just wake up and knew it. I have to go searching for the answers myself. And the more you practice, is the better you get at things, right? The more inquisitive you are, the more curious you are, the more you find out. So I guess the biggest tip is just have an appetite for learning and don't be afraid to fail at the first hurdle. Like, I mean, if you rewind some of my work, it's crazy stuff that's just like, what is this? But it's all part of the learning curve. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's one of them. It's easier with people just giving me direct sort of questions, and I can kind of be more kind of direct with the answers. It's such a generic thing that
I totally get that as well, because I've just been trying to figure out, like, is there like some crucial parts, because I know a lot of people, especially when it comes into front end, will kind of jump straight into JavaScript because we are like, that's what pays the bills, let's just skip the CSS, it's just not worth it, let's continue.
Well, I guess it's just it's just a curiosity and just wanting to make cool stuff. I think that's just always what it's been. Like I just like learning. Have an appetite for learning, you'll make things. Like that's all the cool. Like you see so many creative stuff on people online in these communities just churning out stuff. People that we don't even see that just make amazing things.
For sure, so, every day, like especially when you go to that like CodePen landing page, you just see absolute gold.
Yeah, people just.
You'll usually see Jhey on the front page of that as well. If you ever just log into CodePen, it's probably like 6 of the 10 things featured are probably his.
Yeah, I haven't been doing as many though. I've got some, but they're all kind of like, then I'm not allowed to bring them out yet. So they're on their way.
Oh, that's cryptic. Now I see why you hide behind the mask.
Yeah. I mean, I got the anyway. Someone pointed out in the chat, but the real The real hero is right here. This is the one
Jesus,
that does all the coding. I'm just the front
nice.
man.
Yeah,
So.
you're outsourcing it.
Just a way to add the position in. I'm just checking what the chat says. So CSS is just a way to adjust the positioning of objects on the page and add some colors. What other stuff can it do? Whatever you want it to do. Animation, like.
Jay, you built an entire authentication system with just CSS.
I was about to bring that up. Like, that was the joke one, right? We did like.
I think you should actually show that you've built an authentication system with it. Yeah, actually, I'm gonna jump into the screen share. If you want to share your screen, we'll let you show, I suppose, a couple of the potential things, and then jump into whatever you want to show to people.
Yeah, sure. You see that?
Yeah, I can see that now anyway. So
I just pumped this. We pumped this out quick while we were playing around with the technicals, and I just thought I'd do a wave emoji for everyone.
Nice.
So,
and you literally did that while you were talking to me as well.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the one I did like. I guess I'll do it through Twitter. There we go. So I can't remember what this came out of. It was just like a silly conversation on Twitter, which was like, what next for CSS, like rocket science or something.
And I loved seeing some people going, you can't actually make authentication with CSS. And just to clarify, because there is probably some beginners out there as well listening to the stream as well. We are joking. This isn't an authentication system, but it is a beautiful animation.
Yeah, it's kind of a play on how you perceive authentication, but it kind of is a very rudimentary thing. You know, like if you I don't know, have people that don't really know their way around a computer, you could maybe use it, I don't know, on a local thing. But yeah, the tricks here is like, obviously with CSS, there's all these hidden kind of, well, they're not hidden, they're out there on the docs, but people don't really use them very often. So for instance, this is using, so here we have like just a normal input, but I've got like a pattern attribute on it that says, and the way the pattern attribute works is when well, actually you can see it right here in the code. So pattern password 123 is what I'm using as like the dummy password. And then if you type like anything else in, it goes red because technically it's now in an invalid state. So there's a pseudo selector for that, which is invalid. And then as soon as you hit password 123, it becomes valid. So
and does that take a regex or is it?
Yeah, you can throw pretty much anything at it.
Wow.
I'm just using there's a great example, which is someone did like a Mario Kart kind of thing, where it's like a CSS Mario Kart, and I think they can type left and right or something like that, and it moves. But this kind of plays on that. So once you've hit like, so here I've got a title which acts as a hint. So when you hover over it, it just says like, wasn't your password 123. And then when you type it in, it's valid now. And now using the sibling combinator, I can say, right, take that SVG. It's not SVG, it's just a CSS lock, pop the lock up, switch out to the smiley face, reveal this enter button, and now I can click that. And now I'm in like what looks like a special page, but it's not, it's just a div that overlays an entire thing. And then the logout is a type reset. So the trick around this is everything's in a form. And if you have a type reset, it will reset the form. So technically our auth input will get cleared when we hit logout. So if we hit logout, it clears it. And then we have this, you have been like logged out thing. And I can't remember how I did that. I think it's, what's that?
This is really cool because like I genuinely would have just been like, I would have definitely used JavaScript to achieve this. It's like, I wouldn't have thought I could have used it. I didn't know about the pattern for one.
Yeah, pattern's really cool. Like I didn't know about it till like, well, I've known about it a while now, but I can't remember how I did this. There's like a little trick. There we go. Oh yeah, so the trick here is there's another pseudo selector. So when you click logout, technically the form has focus still. So you can use focus within to show the that you've logged out. But as soon as I hit something, the focus goes and the logout message disappears. So
That is
weird.
really cool. That's a lot of hackery, but like again, like for a lot of use cases, this is perfect.
Well, yeah, and I think it's just one of those interesting things, right? It's like I kind of like talking about the process though, because it kind of like debunks the myth, I guess, of CSS is too crazy. Like you can do these things. Like there's not many selectors. You can just dive in and start playing with it. And obviously, I get asked quite a bit about like, oh, how do I do this? How do I just start throwing things on a page? That's how you learn. Well, for me, that's how I learn. I just jump in and do it. But yeah, I'm happy to dive into anything. Unless anyone wants to ask about any other random stuff they might have seen me do. I mean, the CSS drawing stuff is a whole topic on its own. And
I think so, because this could easily derail it, because we know people like Chris Dixon and that are in the chat who will happily derail everything because he can. So I think it's probably better off starting, and we'll have like a Q&A at the end if you have time.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
When your brain's already tired.
I won't. I've been through this. This is like, I can do this piece pretty much. I do it all the time, so it shouldn't be any trick. I was just when I wrote this originally, so the 2 articles I posted to you. I don't know if you want to ping them in the YouTube chat. I don't have. I'm not on it, but I ping them to you in a DM on. I think I pinged them to you on Slack. But the 2 articles that are like background reading to this.
I'll add them to the description of the video and add them to the meetup afterwards as well.
Cool. But yeah, it's kind of a process that I use a lot, but I thought more people were kind of aware of it. And I guess that's kind of one of the issues I go through, is that I kind of assume everyone knows these things. So so where do we want to start? Do we want to start with Pug? A quick overview of Pug?
Yeah. Stefan in the chat says he's energy drinks, so he'll be ready for the Q&A. So I think people are getting armed and ready to attack you after this as well. But yeah, let's kick off with Pug. Let's not intimidate you too much. You're on it as well.
I'm out of energy drink. I'm just on the H2Os now. Got the big old bottle.
Same as myself.
So right, let's dig into Pug. There isn't an awful, well, I guess I could kind of walk through this dev too.
But, yeah, I've never actually used Pug, so, and I actually avoided it more because I knew you were going to be coming, so I wanted to be as shocked as all the rest of the people. So I'd actually have newcomer questions as well as you're doing it.
There's probably a better way to show it off, not in CodePen. Probably make more sense to show it off in an actual like conversion thing like this. So Pug is essentially a syntax indent. It's a syntax that's indent sensitive. I actually learned the other day that this is referred to as the offside rule, which I thought was quite interesting. So obviously that's a football thing. But yeah, if you have a language that's indent sort of sensitive, it's known to adhere to the offside rule. So you learn something new every day. So with Pug, you have it's an indent sensitive language for creating and generating markup. It's server-side node primarily, but you can use it in the browser. So for instance, you write a tag with just like that. So you can see it converting to the right. And you can write any tag you want. You know, you can do Nile, like it'll create them. By default, it resorts to a div. So if I wanted a div with a class of, so say I wanted a span or a div and I wanted a class, you append classes with a dot. So you'd have like .nile.primary. You see it's just pumping classes out. If you want an ID, it's just a hash. So you could do like IDJ or whatever you want to call it, really, ID. And then when you want attributes, you just put them in brackets. So, you know, you could have like data name equals J, and it'll just put all the attributes. The cool thing is that it sorts, when you actually use Pug, I don't know what this online converter is like, but it will sort the attributes and things all for you and make it all pretty, and then it will do whatever you want with it. You can obviously use pre-processed on your HTML as well, but the cool thing is, like, it resorts to div by default. So if I just wanted to make some classes, so say I have like a box, and then I have like a box handle, I only have to write that to generate like an element with a nested element. It's pretty straightforward.
Cool. That's very cool.
Now that's just like kind of the brink of what you can do with Pug. When you go a bit further, you can start. So the cool thing is you can basically use ES6 within here. So we could do something like this. And then I can start putting things in. But I can also go steps further, and I can do things like maybe I want to create a bunch of cards with names on or something like that. So maybe we had a people list, and it's a UL, and then we had a bunch of people, and they were in an array. Oh. I mean, I don't know who Joe is, but he's prominent tonight.
But if you see my name everywhere, it's Niall Joe Marr. So
that's what is subliminal messaging. There you go. So, and then we could do like for person of. Pretty sure this works. Li equals person. That might not be quite right. Might need that. There you go. So you have like two types of JavaScript within Pug. So you have like buffered and unbuffered, and I always get them around the wrong way. Let me just refer to it. You have, so basically you can do any inline code, and unbuffered that is prefixed with the hyphen doesn't get included in your markup, but anything that is prefixed with an equal does get put in your markup. So the equal there for, let me find my mouse, for person, this is obviously using the JavaScript and referencing this variable, it gets included in the markup. This is partly some of the cool stuff you can do. You can obviously do while loops as well, which is an actual like primitive piece of it. So you can do while and for, and you can do conditionals as well. So you could say like, you know, pretty sure I don't need anything for this. So it won't render there, but if I switch out to true, it'll appear. So you've got like all that kind of stuff you can do. Oh, I know why it wasn't doing, right, okay. So the other type of loop, there's while and the while loop. I'll show you the while loop quick. We could do something like limit equals 10. And this will all make more sense when we dig into the actual thing we're going to create. And you'll see why it's quite sort of magical to do this kind of thing. So we could have like while, we'll define a variable. Slack's popping off now. So we could do let I equals 0, and we could say while I is less than limit. Crash the site. Brilliant. I've crashed it. Give it a reload. Some of these,
denial a service attack or something now they'll think it is, just with how.
Yeah, sometimes these generator things just fall over. It's all right. We can come into basically what you have is you can do while loops like you would in normal JavaScript, but you can just pump across like an array and just fire them all out. So we'll try it once more. If it doesn't work, I know it works in CodePen, so we'll be okay. So const limit equals 10. While I is less than, I think that's what's breaking it, right? When I do that. I equals 0, while I is less than the limit. Yeah, that breaks it. Well, that's a bug on their site. Essentially, what you do is, and I have it in here on my article. There's two types of iteration, basically. You can do a while loop like we were trying to do there, and you can just pump things out, or you can do an each, and you can just go over an array. The cool thing is, obviously, you can actually reference a piece of the JavaScript that was unbuffered above.
Oh, that's very handy. So that's good for like just that repetitive tasks and
so
generating content.
We'll use a bunch of that. And the other parts are, I mean, the more practical parts of using Pug is things like, obviously we have the nested content, which is how it starts, but extends and blocks is a big one. So you might create a layout in your markup, so HTML, head, body, and then you use a block of your content. And then when you actually want to create like a page, you would just extend your layout template with your block of content. So, you know, you haven't got to keep writing all this stuff out or copy paste, which I'm sure is what a lot of people will do once they've got their initial sort of boilerplate of what their HTML is going to look like. Then you can start extracting pieces out and doing like includes. You could create a menu in a different file, include it from somewhere, include it somewhere, so like a layout. So you could include a menu. Inline code we touched on. So this is the part I want to really show, which is how interpolation works. And we're going to do that by sort of running through this kind of example we've thrashed an idea for. So how we can kind of supercharge, I guess, dynamic CSS animations through Pug by making kind of these randomly generated experiences by leveraging sort of Pug's kind of unbuffered inline code. Mixins is another one. It's kind of like functions. It's kind of like includes, but dynamic includes. So we can pass variables into blocks of markup that pump out something. So for instance, here, I've got like a mixin of a card with a name and an avatar with a default parameter. And, you know, when I actually invoke these mixins, we get these types of pumped out markup. Yeah, and this is kind of what we're going to do. We're going to create some randomly generated stuff. But Pug's pretty cool. It's not used, I guess, a lot by a lot of people, maybe because they don't know it, but also some people just don't like indent-based syntax. But if you wanted to check out this, I'm sure, like Niall said, he'll post it in the description. It will take you pretty much 5 minutes to be comfortable with it. There's not a lot to it, but it's heavily overlooked. Would that cover it enough now? And we can dig into something, actually building something?
Yeah, I think these things are always make a lot more sense when you actually build them. So you can see them in action. I'm gonna raise your face up here a little bit. You mightn't be able to, you might know this, but everyone else can see you still. So yeah.
Yeah, my screen went off. So
yeah, no pressure.
What is
picture everyone naked? Isn't that what they say?
I was just catching up on the comments. Love Pug. Good. That's 2 of us. Yeah, Pug's not hard. It's one of them. Try one of those online editors that actually doesn't crash when you try the features, and you'll see that it's quite simple. I obviously recommend CodePen. I'm wearing the shirt, so. But yeah, so my idea was, we had an idea that I was going to maybe do some kind of GSAPy kind of rocket or something like that, and that was the idea we were going to use here. but building the rocket on this stream would have taken way too long. So we kind of thrashed out this idea that I'd kind of going to create the Twitter balloons. So if not everyone's seen them, because when I said it to Niall, he had never heard of it. So
I've never had a birthday.
Yeah. So I figured we could do something like this, where we create this kind of balloon shape with Pug, and then we're going to just generate a bunch of balloons that animate from bottom to top, and we're going to use as little code as possible. So I guess we need to start with a balloon. So what I can do is I can actually show how mixing kind of works here, which will be kind of handy. So we'll do mixing balloon. We'll start by just creating a balloon. And all I'm going to do is create a div that does that. And we should see a balloon pop out. There we go. So the whole body is rotating at the moment because I made that. See a little animation. So we'll take that off, and we'll take the background color off, and we don't need the font size either for this animation. So we have a balloon, and it's not very interesting. So let's try styling it up a little bit. Now this is going to be weird because I'm used to using a preprocessor for my style, so I'm actually going to have to write strict CSS, which is a little change up.
It's okay. Only all of the internet will judge you if you mess up anything at all.
Yeah, that's fully expected. So what I'm going to go with viewport units to size these up. I'm going to go with vmin. For those of you that aren't familiar with viewport units, vmin and vmax and vw and vh essentially relate to the viewport size. So vmax is obviously the max size split into 100. So if I did 1 vmin, it will be 1% of whatever so 1 vmin will be 1% of whichever the minimum sort of sizing dimension is between the width and the height. So at the moment, 1 vmin would equate to 1 vh, because we're looking at that. So what I can do is I can throw it and we can change it here. So I'll start with the CSS variable, size, and we'll go 20. And we'll do height, calc var size times 1 vmin. We'll do the same width. Cool. And then we'll give it a background, and we'll just say HSL for now. We'll just make it red. Cool. And we will give it a border radius of 50%.
I think it might be worth mentioning about CSS variables, because a lot of people might not even use them, because I know myself, say in work I use SCSS. So this abstraction is something I don't actually get to use frequently.
Yes, so like I say, you have to hold me up on anything that's I appreciate that, because I'm just used to writing this stuff, so I just
absolutely, and that's what I'm just saying.
So yeah, CSS variables obviously are quite similar to preprocessor variables. I'm declaring them in the root here, which is like document element, so it's like the highest level. And all I'm doing here is declaring a size. Now, when we do numbers and things, we want to do a calc to normalize them. I could just do 20 vmin up here, which is fine, and then I could just use var size like directly like that. The cool thing about not doing it that way and leaving all your coefficients out is that it gives you headroom to change things later on without sort of coupling yourself to your implementation. So it does look a bit verbose in the sense that you're kind of writing calc everywhere. And I mean, I could do this. I could do like desired size 20, and then do efficient, 1vmin, and then do this, calc var desired size times var coefficient, and then just directly use var size. That's probably a better way, a nicer way to do it. But the idea is that when you write these variables, you want to make them kind of as reusable as possible. So you don't want to like stitch yourself up later down the line. So like if I tied everything to pixels and then later on decided I want to change it, it could be a maintenance sort of nightmare, especially when you start like trying to interpolate different variables when you're doing the calc. I can't remember which article it was, but when CSS variables kind of dropped, this was one of the big tips from, I want to say Leah Veru. That's the name that springs to mind. But it was a case of like, try to leave the unit values out. Well, that was the takeaway I got. Leave the unit values out because you're going to save yourself with further down the line. But yeah, that's kind of what we're doing here. We're kind of trying to extract as much as we can out into variables. And then when I want to come back and change this, I don't have to go hunting through all the code. Obviously, at this smaller level, it's like, I'm only using it twice here at the moment. And this is like a much scaled down kind of demo. But on like a big site, you might have something like, you might have your color hues or something like that, or like a primary color, and you might have it, I don't know, HSL, something like that, and then you might want to use it across the board. And so that'll be like a pinkish color, I guess. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, it's just extracting it all out, really.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's funny because obviously like the big win for pre-processing stuff was being able to write variables, but now we have them sort of natively, so it's a nice convenience.
Once we get nesting, we'll all be happy.
Yeah, that'll be it. That'll be it. It's complete. That's kind of why, and I guess that's another thing worth mentioning actually while we bring that up. That's why you'll probably see like in a lot of the demos I do and stuff, I do everything BEM, because I just like writing. So if I was doing this in stylus, obviously this won't compile, but I would do something like balloon, and then I would do, tabs don't work in here. I would do something like ampersand underscore handle to like nest it. I'm sure you've seen stuff like that before, but it's just like such a convenience thing.
Absolutely, especially when you're used to your Pug as well, just to keep things clean.
Yeah, it's just like, this is nice.
There's a question in the chat, just, can you override a variable for one class?
You can, and we are going to be smashing that with our Pug.
Okay, excellent. There you go.
You're jumping ahead of the gun. Come on.
Yeah, and Stefan says that's BEM style.
Yeah, BEM style. I did say BEM. Maybe he didn't hear me.
No, he just wants to take your thunder. That's all. You know, the guy that tells the joke afterwards and gets more laughs.
Yes, I know that one too well.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah, don't start writing Deno jokes in the chat.
Oh, you said it. You said it.
So yeah, so for this border radius, so there's a reason I wanted to do the calc, and this is going to show you why. Because I kind of want to change this size now, because I'm not going to go with something that's perfectly round. Although I could maybe just do this, because I want it to be a little bit taller for my balloon shape. So I might do like 1.2. I guess we're going 3.5. My hands are telling me otherwise. So yeah, we can still use calc, but now we're just like, the values are like no units here, which is fine. So what do we reckon this balloon is? It's kind of like 1.2, I guess, maybe. we'll go 1.2. And then I'm just going to use the magic double syntax for border radius. Not everyone knows this one, but it's a handy one to use. This is how you make interesting shapes. So the first 4 values cover horizontal. So horizontal top left, horizontal top right, horizontal bottom right, horizontal bottom left. And then the second set does exactly the same, but in the vertical. So, you know, for example, if I was to say go 90% across and 100% down, something like that, it probably isn't going to work because the 10% are set, but you kind of want to build like a balloon shape that's kind of 50-50, and then it'll be 50-50 at the bottom, but the vertical will be slightly different. So we're not, because 50-50 is a circle, obviously. So we kind of want to do something like 50-50, 50-50, but then our vertical would be something like 30%, 30%, and then maybe like 70%. So you can see how that's kind of changing. So it's kind of offsetting it a bit.
Oh, nice.
So we can like bring that down. We can tweak it a bit more. It's probably not quite right. It needs a little bit of tinkering. Yeah, it's not far off. I mean, what are we dealing with? It's not a billion miles away. There's different ways to make it point down. We could clip it, which is one way. But I kind of like the roundness. I think that kind of looks better than this kind of jaggedy kind of way. We can clip it. What do we reckon? Should we clip it, or should we have it like that?
I think keep it roundish.
I mean, when I think of an actual balloon, I don't think it goes like.
Although, you know, if you want to show off how to clip, maybe it's useful.
Well, I have a thing that I use for it, which is
Oh, wizard's tricks.
Well, what I do is I have a little function that I write in the pre-processor to do it. But essentially, what we could do is, and what I'm getting at is, we could do something like this. So like a polygon clip. So if anyone isn't aware of what a clip path is, it just allows us to basically snip parts off of an element. So you pass it sets of coordinates, essentially like x, y's, and you can pass it as many as you like, and you can animate between them as long as you have the same number of points. So if I was just doing a square and I wasn't clipping anything, you'd go 0, 0, 100% 0, which would be top right, then 100%, 100%, which would be bottom right, and then 100, no, you wouldn't, you go 0, 100%, that'd give you bottom left. But that isn't really very interesting. But if I wanted to cut, say, the top right corner off, I'd go 50% there, and it would snip that off, kind of like Fruit Ninja style. Is that game still going?
It has to be. They had like teddy bears and everything.
So I'd probably go something like 100, 0, and then I'd probably go down to roughly where we were. The problem with this is that it's kind of tricky to get the perfect snip on it. You'd probably be better off using maybe like an ellipse and then just snipping it that way. But I'll show this hypothetically and I'll take the clip off. But you'd go kind of 45 and then down to maybe 50, 100, and then back up to like 0. Oh. Back up to 0, 45, and then it'll take you back round. So you can kind of see like the shape you would kind of work with, and then you'd kind of just play around with it until you get something that looks kind of right. But it's kind of an awkward shape. There's different ways you could do it. You could do it with You could clip it, or you could do like a bigger element, which is another way of doing things. You could use like a bigger circle that cuts it off, and then use an overflow hidden, and then get your shape just right how you want it there. But we're going to try and keep this simple, so I'm going to go with this.
Nice. Just there's, I suppose, two things in the chat. One person is just having trouble getting any shapes to appear, and I'm guessing that's because the Pug isn't enabled in CodePen. Could you just show how you enable
Yeah,
Pug
sure.
in CodePen?
Top left, HTML preprocessor, Pug.
Excellent. Yeah. And then Stefan was wondering, is this just the clipping? I think he's talking about the clipping anyway. Does the clipping work in all Safari and everything?
It works across the board. The only thing is sometimes you have to use, if your auto prefixer does it, but it needs -webkit prior, like prefixed, and that's Safari. I think that's just iOS as well. It just seems to play up in iOS. I learned that the hard way.
I've noticed that even with TextClip as well, you have to use WebKit as well.
Yeah, but if you've got a prefixer, it should do it. But obviously, there's different types of clip paths. So you have like insert, you have circle, I believe, and then there's polygon and ellipse. I think they're the ones. But yeah, they can save you a bunch of time. There's a really good tool for it. I've got two options here actually. There is a really well-known tool, but I mean, while I'm on here, I may as well just pump my own, right? So I made one here that you can mess around with, and it kind of shows you how clip paths work. Yeah, there you go. Ellipse is one, so you can tighten it. So you can see what I could have done there. I could have like tightened it up a bit and then just set an overflow hidden on it. There's polygon, which is the one we just did. There's circle, which you just move around, make bigger, smaller. And an inset is just a square. So you just tell it a top right and a bottom left. The famous one is Clippy, but I'm pumping my own.
Is that like the same as Clippy.js or Clippy that was in Windows? A little paperclip follows you around, tells you how to do shapes.
It is. I'll just show this one quick because it just reminded me. So this is something else you can do with clips. This is what I was on about, the animated clips. As long as they've all got the same pointers, you can transition between them. So there's like the famous CSS article on CSS-tricks, which is like the shapes of CSS. It shows you how to create all different sorts of shapes. And this was one that I was like, oh, that's a good opportunity. I'll do the clips of CSS. So I just took it and created this, but you can transition between them all. So this is just clip path on the same element, but it's kind of showing you all the different kind of shapes you can make, and you're able to transition between them.
That would be very trippy with some audio.
Yeah, it's kind of got that like beat. Oh, what's the game called? Like, I know what you're on about, but it's kind of the lights, and it just needs a bit of a. Yeah, that's just CSS. I think it's just doing it with checkboxes. I think. Yeah, it's just a form and some checkboxes. So, and some labels to just iterate through, and then that's a type reset. So, the tool that I was mentioning is this one. So, oh, that's not it. It's called Clippy. There it is. Bennett Freely. And it's this one. So he has like a whole bunch of different things you can make. And you can just add pieces to it. There you go, there's the support. Not in IE, but everything else. Yeah, enough of clip path. Let's make this balloon, right? So we kind of got a rough balloon shape. Kind of feeling that we could make it a little bit better. Let's meet it in. So I'm thinking we could use like a radial gradient to add a little shine to it. Although complicated if I do it like that. So let's just do a pseudo element. We'll do the shine last, and we'll do the string now. How about that instead? So we'll call it balloon handle. I'll tell you what's strange. Coding along with no noise. That's feels like I'm taking an exam or something.
Yeah, it is an exam of sorts, I guess. You feel free to throw in your headphones or whatever else. We'll just.
No, it's cool. This feels like I feel like someone's going to walk behind me and look over my shoulder and make sure I'm not cheating. So if I do, so I'm just positioning it here in the center so I can work on it. There we go, should be in the middle. And I'm just going to create this handle piece. So, you know, I think the handle is probably like, yeah, about 50–60%. So I'll say it's like a width of 1% maybe. And then leaving off the colons, height 60%. And go with like a background of HSL 45–100. Should be like a yellowish color.
OCR in CrossFit says there's only like 40 people looking over your shoulder, so not to be worried.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, it's not terrifying at all. Don't worry. So I'll go top 100 and I'll go left 50 and I'll just center it. Translate. That should give me a string that's kind of like at the bottom somewhere. Oh, and it helps if I put position absolutely on it. Okay. So there's like a string, and we might say it needs to be a little bit bigger, so like 2% maybe. And it's pretty dark, so we got like 40%. Cool. And then this is a good example of where we might say, you know what, this is our chord color. Kind of like the word chord instead of string. Sounds a bit cooler. So we'll go var chord. Shove that in there. So there's the handle. That's all right, but we're kind of missing some pieces, right? So we've got like this kind of little nubbin. I don't know what you want to call that piece at the bottom. And then we got like this extra piece of string. What's he said there? Don't worry, we post all your mistakes and outtakes on Twitter. Brilliant.
There was actually a question before that though. I think it was, do you always use or recommend using transform translate for such positioning tasks?
Yes, but it's just out of habit. I don't like using margins. I don't think so. I try and veer away from using margin. You could do it top right, bottom left, but you're kind of constraining yourself. I kind of veer away from using margins unless you're defining them from the container. So like if I was saying, like if I was going to do that, I would have to say body, direct child or whatever descendant balloon margin. Like I wouldn't apply the margin straight on the balloon. And it's just a good habit to get into because say, and this is just like a fun demo, but in a practical sense, in like real life, if you create a load of components in your design system or whatever, and you're creating buttons or headers or whatever it is, you're not going to apply the margin to that because when you actually consume it, you don't want to be dictating how somebody's layout is going to look. So you want to actually use the layout to dictate the layout, not the component, if that makes sense. Like you want the component to not care about anything outside of its little shell.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't define any margins.
So it's unopinionated.
Yeah. I guess if you got like a more of a combo kind of component, I can't think of amalgamation of things that are put together, then you can worry about doing like internal kind of margins and stuff there. But yeah, so I'm going to use the before and after of this handle to like this. So here I'm just using a pseudo element, which just buys me an extra element without having to write anything into the DOM myself. Obviously I'm writing it kind of through CSS, but I'm just saying create 2 elements. And then say balloon handle before, and I'm going to spell it right, like that. And I'm going to say it's the top 0 left 50. And this is going to be the string piece, so not maybe. And this is going to have a background of that chord piece that we said about earlier. And it's going to have a width of like 300% and a height of, I don't know, 10%. Let's see how that looks. It's disappeared though, which is never a good sign. Where is it? Give it a save and a refresh. What's happened here? Everyone wants to see how to debug CSS as well, right?
Absolutely, because everyone always gets it correct the first time, all the time. So this is more realistic. Is it because the position isn't relative?
No, it should be okay. Absolute works the same. So absolute will still. Oh, I see what's. No, I don't see what's happened. All right. Well, obviously something has broken. Is it that piece? It's that piece. What isn't it like in there? It's absolutely positioned. It's left 50. It is. I forgot a colon at the left 50%. How you doing, Leah? Leah. I always get it wrong. It is that. You're right.
Awesome. It's so good having like nearly 40 people debug your code at least as well.
You should all check out Leah's CodePen as well. She's a CodePenner.
Oh, excellent.
She's very good. She makes some really cool stuff.
Throw your link in the chat there as well, Leah, please.
I think I'm not sure, but Angela might be with her as well, who also makes cool things on CodePen. So if they're both in here,
nice.
Share away. CodePen community's got your back. So, disappeared now. Although we're on a delay, so I'm probably like, oh, they've aired me, but they haven't. So
yeah, you think you have an awkward silence, but you actually don't.
Yeah. So if I translate that across, that should look pretty right. So yeah, we need to make it a bit wider.
Well, that looks very good, yeah.
And then we chuck a little border radius on it. And we're going to use that like double syntax again. So I'll go like 25%, 50%. I mean, it's so small that you probably won't see it down there, but that's fine. And then we just need the little bit, which is going to be the same pretty much, but it's obviously going to use the color. So after, and top will be whatever that height is, so 5%. And we could variable this up as well. That probably makes sense to do that. Go 700, and we will make it primary color. So that gives us like our little balloon shape, and then obviously there's some pieces here that we could factor instructor. So pump that in there. And I think it's most of it, to be honest. What do we have? Width, background, left. I'm not going too OTT. I won't do the alphabetizing it and all that. But so there's a like basic balloon, and we haven't got any CodePen handles come up. I'm disappointed. Maybe they left the chat. They're like
disgusted at that missing semicolon. They're like, oh, can't support this guy.
This guy's amateur. Why am I even here? That's fair. That's fair. I learn from my mistakes.
Understandable.
So the other idea I had is to do a little kind of shine on the balloon. So kind of going to go with another pseudo element here. Only one. That looks interesting. And we could say like, I don't know, width 20% and height of 20%. See, this is where I'm used to not writing colons or semicolons. So that's where I'm getting caught out. Like stylus is what I normally use, and it kind of lets you get away with anything. So
I've never used stylus, so I heard absolutely fantastic things about it though. I think Scott Talinsky and that was going on about doing his new site with it as well.
Yeah, it's lovely. So it's kind of like you can write brackets when you want, and you don't have to write them when you don't want, and you just get away with things. You can obviously use like a linter on it or something, but yeah, it's pretty cool. Quite a bit with it. So yeah, so there's like our shiny piece, and if we said like, I don't know, top of 10 and left of 15, let's see where that puts that. Kinda 50%, let's make it a circle. And then I want to use, there's a cleverer way of doing this actually. Cool. That's not going to close. There is a clever way of doing this actually. So if I do the before as this, stick it up above, that should go under. Yep, cool. And then if I rotate this.
So it's my fault that the CodePen stuff didn't come through. I just realized that it automatically flags any links and things. So you're more loved than you think. Okay, so people are listening to you.
Angela is in here as well. Cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to send it directly over to me or link it on Twitter, I will put it into the chat, or I'll actually link it in the description as well. I'm sure Jhey doesn't mind sharing some of his CodePen space and links.
No. There's some cool stuff. So
excellent. Or I'll just share it in the chat as well. Excellent. So there you go. That's why.
Now it makes sense. You're blocking people.
This is a dictatorship, you know. It's not a democracy.
So I could. I'm just thinking of different ways I could do this. So I could do like an overlap or something. I mean, this one's just a little round, so I mean, we can just go with that. If I was properly sort of digging into this, I would probably go as far to start messing around with it and like trying to do overlaps and cut pieces off, but I don't think we need to do that. So I'll just call it shine, and I'll use HSLA, and we know this is going to be 0 saturation, but 100% brightness, and I'll give it like a alpha of like 0.75. Cool, var shine. What's that? Cool. So there's a balloon. That's kind of roughly what we're going with. So this is when we can say, right, let's go back to Pug and start making loads of balloons, but without actually having to do a lot of heavy lifting. We can just do it ourselves. So yeah, you can do it that way. I love the way people are writing out links phonetically though, because you're the gatekeeper.
Yeah, I may fix my settings. I didn't think, believe it or not, it was actually because when I initially started my channel, there was weird spam bots putting porn links in the chats. So I said I have to disable that.
So if you see now, the while loop works in here. So I wasn't kidding when I said it works. So what I'm doing here is I'm just saying while b is less than 10, create a bunch of balloons. So I'm creating 10 balloons. Why have they just disappeared? That's interesting. They were there, then they disappeared. What happened? Give it a reload. Yeah, they're there. So I have 10 balloons, which is all right. It's not very interesting though. So what we can start doing is generating sort of variables for each. So what I tend to do is I'll create some kind of like randomizing kind of function. So I might call it like rand min max, and this will be like math.floor math.random times max minus min plus 1 plus min. I think it's something like that. It normally does it, and then community. So I might say that x equals rand anywhere between 0 and 100, and then I'm going to pass it into our mixin. So we have x up here, and this is where the kind of magic piece comes in. So because we can use ES6 and we can use template literals and we can do all these kind of things that we want to do, what we can do now is just start letting CSS kind of power our layout and our markup and how it all behaves. So if we do like a style and do a template literal and then create a new variable, like an inline CSS variable, and give it X, and we can see in the markup what's actually happening. So if we jump over into here, you see we've got like X. I'll pump this up actually.
Oh, that's really cool.
Oh, wrong piece. So yeah, we've got like X19, 51, 100, 18, 54, like, and then all we need to do in here is say, well, you know, here where I was saying like, you know, I want it to be left. Well, you know what, I'm going to let the markup work it out for me. And we didn't actually touch on this, but CSS variables allow you to do like a fallback in a second parameter or an argument. And then I'm going to say times 1%. So now my balloons are spread, but I hardly had to do anything. I just said, do it and, you know, spread them. So that looks all right, but the balloons are a bit, they're all a bit samey. It's all a bit boring, right? So maybe I want to change the color of them. And this is another reason why I use HSL a lot, is because I can just plug in numbers and I can generate different colors. So I might say, you know what, I want the color hue to be anywhere between 0 and 360. So I come up here and I create another one and I just say, you know what, H. And it gets a bit kind of repetitive, I guess. There's probably a better way of spreading this. Just spreading the prop straight out or writing a little function to do it. But then I can come in here and then I can say, do you know what, this primary color, and this is where it comes back to, someone asked about this earlier. you can create scoped variables for different classes by overriding it. And this is how we kind of do the whole overriding for specific classes. So now we can say, you know what, HSL var H default to red, 100%, 50%. Let's see what that gives us. So now we have different color balloons. And you know, we wrote like 3 lines of code, but each time we reload this, we're going to get different. Well, sometimes it caches it, sometimes a bit funny on CodePen, but we'll get like different sets each time. So that looks kind of cool, but they're still kind of all the same. But the one thing that we did have here was we were doing sizing. So we had this desired size, and then we had this actual size. And this is why I was kind of saying along the lines of just keeping the size in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it back. Well, I don't need, I guess I could get away with this actually. Let's just do that. So I'm going to put the size in here. In fact, I could have just copied that completely over. But I'm going to take a new one called S, and I'm going to default it to 10. And you'll see that they're all smaller now because obviously the cascade and the scope changes it. So now I could be like, right, you know what, I want a size thing, and we could do, I mean, we could do anything in here. We could go to 100. This will be like huge ones and little ones, and we need to actually pass it in. That's going to help. Huge one. Yeah. So now we start like, and this is where we can just like make a couple of changes here, and now we have like all kind of stuff. So like maybe 5 to 50. And the cool thing is like, you know, it's responsive. Like things are going to move how we want them. And you know, we're getting this generated stuff just from not really, we're not having to do a lot realistically. I mean, what I might do though is just take a little HSL there, and an alpha, just to make them a little bit opaque. Now we can see, yeah, see now that looks better because now we can see the balloons through each other. So it's kind of a bit
that's
more
way nicer. That's more natural, I guess.
Yeah, and then, you know, we could have I mean, a fan favorite of mine is I normally create like a party mode background transition thing, but I think we'll leave that one off because it's more of a pre-processor thing. But
you don't want to have to write all the little pseudo selectors for that.
Yeah, it gets a bit crazy. But so we got that, which is I mean, that took like barely anything to do, but it's still quite boring. They're just static. They're not really doing anything. Balloons do not stay still unless they're tied down, and even then, children around will untie them and let them go. So we can do something like add a animation speed potentially. So I'm going to call it D. Stand for duration. And I'm going to say it's anywhere between, I don't know, 0.2 and 5 seconds. So there's D, and then we just need to make an animation. So our balloon will go float, and we'll normalize D in here, and we'll just say 1 second default, and it will be infinite, and it will be linear for the start. We'll play around with it after, and I'll just put the keyframes at the bottom. We'll say from. This is where it's going to get interesting because obviously I was doing this. But this is quite a cool thing. If you don't know that you can do this, because some people aren't aware of this, you can obviously you can chain translations. So we could do something like I don't know, 100 VH, and then take me up to.
I've never used chaining translates ever, so this is actually pretty cool to see.
Yeah, it's really handy, and not a lot of people realize you can do it. So yeah, you could translate something, rotate it, and then turn it around and move it again. So you can see it's kind of doing something, but it's not really doing it quite right.
Well, one balloon is having an absolute
One
fit
balloon's
there.
having an absolute party.
I want that balloon at my party, just that one.
That purple ones, they're also starting not quite in the right place. So we might yeah, they're starting too far up, which they shouldn't be. They should be starting much further down.
Are they translating from the initial flex settings that you had?
They should. We essentially are just chaining that, so
yeah,
it shouldn't matter. We take that out and see if it makes a difference. But oh, I know why. I know why. Because we haven't put a fill mode on.
OCR and CrossFit reckons that balloon has had ecstasy, so.
They still don't seem to be quite doing the right thing, which is interesting. What is happening? Translate, minus VH. Just seeing if I've left a colon out again. Oh, I think I have, yeah. I've actually added an extra one in. That's better.
Ah, look at that.
So now we have loads of balloons, and their animation will change and their speed will change as we kind of move the screen around because it's using viewport units. So
that's really cool. So it's a responsive generating.
And then obviously when we start this, this is one tool that I really recommend everyone use if you're doing animation stuff. If we restart this. So the only thing with it is it's always a pain. I don't know if anyone else ever has this pain.
Could you just show people where you get access to that tool again, just so?
Yeah, so DevTools, top right, customize and control, more tools, animations. That's where you want to go for that. And basically it allows you to scrub and tweak animations. So you can see what's going on here, but we can obviously scrub them back and forth, which is kind of cool. So it's all right because it depends how you want the animation to work here. So my idea is that obviously that's okay, but you start with a blank screen, which isn't great. So what we can do is we can make it so that the balloons are already filling the screen before we start, but they need to be moving sort of straight away. And it would be really hard for us to sort of say, I want it at top, you know, anywhere between 0 and 100, and then just do it and then keep looping because it'd look a bit janky and a bit kind of weird. So what we can do is we can add another variable, and we just take our duration and we'll just say, it'll be, well, this will be, I'm just going to call it delay. We should have been more verbose in the start, but we'll say rand 0 and D, and then we'll pass that in. And obviously, we could have renamed these a bit better, but it's fine. What we can do is we can use a negative delay on the animation, so they're kind of already partly through it. So say calc var delay, set it to 0, and then time is -1s, and that should give us balloons that kind of, you see how they already were in the place. There you go. That was the starting frame. But now we actually end up with a page that's kind of got something already before we get going.
That's a really nice effect, yeah.
You have to like post
you're
it.
unfortunate. Yeah, unfortunately, you're my first Zoom guest. So you know, it was really trial by combat here. Okay, 2 viewers. On the bright side, I might have scared off some of the Q&A'ers.
No, that's fine. I can talk about that kind of stuff for ages. I don't mind doing that bit. So
yeah, I'm going to my channel now, and we'll get this. Okay, let's see. On the right side, okay, that's this streamed 85 minutes ago.
I had a thing when I started with Twitch, and it like I came off the stream, and then it basically didn't end my stream, and it said like I'd done like a 24-hour stream, and I couldn't stop it and restart it. It was just like completely broke. So I had to just like sacrifice it and lose the broadcast save and everything, and just start up again. And then it fixed it. It was the worst thing though, because it was one that I was like, oh, that was actually a decent stream. Like it was when I first started doing them. I was like, oh, this one come out all right. And I think it was the first one when I actually started doing properly like 1080, because I was doing everything on the ultra wide. And I've got some people that have sort of reached out and kind of helped me with this kind of stuff. Because in fact, one of them's in here, or might be in here. I think his handle's the same in here, well brained, but he like knows his broadcast.
I think I just pasted in the the link to the old video.
Oh.
I was like, where is everyone? Yeah, my bad. Oh, jeez. Okay, let's have a look. We'll get there. People are.
It's the most heavily anticipated Q&A of all time.
Yeah, this better be great. I hope you have your flips ready.
Yeah. I do some handstands for you if you want.
Okay, I think we're getting somewhere now. Yes, Colin, I certainly did just link in. I literally copied the URL from the live video I was talking to and pasted it in. So I think we broke off where we were talking about the hues and that kind of thing.
Yeah, are we back again?
I think so. Let's say I'm going to give it a couple of minutes, or like even just 60 seconds, because I'm sure that's just going to set a lot of people just going, I've seen what I want to see. I've seen the balloons being created.
Yeah.
Because the never goes too smoothly. Okay, people are jumping back on anyway, at least. Oh no, somebody disliked my old stream. I know, it was I suppose nothing I can do, because it's funny, because I was still talking to you perfectly fine, no problems. But then just YouTube decides, no, not for you.
Yeah, kind of weird how it keeps kicking you out. Seen your rise, and it's like we ain't handling that.
So apparently I said nice and efficient. It's a nice effect, and the stream died.
But we have 20 people still, so that's not too bad.
No, of course not. Yeah. So I'll stitch this up into a real video afterwards, and people will think I actually host a decent online event. The illusion of editing.
We just put one of those cards over, just dump technical difficulties with a little people saying, and then just bring it back.
Yeah. Dun, 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 dun.
We are stopping for an intermission. Oh well. So
okay, so we were talking about the nice effect. I don't know what abouts that was.
Nice effect was animation delay, I think. So we just said like do a negative animation delay, or kind of I must have just been saying like, so this is the start point where the balloons are kind of on the screen already, and that was kind of where we got to. But the cool thing is, like, obviously we've only got like 10 balloons here, but we can, you know, bump this to like 100, and then use the sizes and start messing around with it more. So we could be like, you know what, 1 to 10. And now we have just like loads of balloons.
Oh wow, it's pretty cool. Like it's just so cool to generate so many elements like that, especially for myself that hasn't used Pug. I think that's just crazy. How easy it is to simulate these kind of things.
15 lines of code. I mean, well.
And that's a big party for 15 lines of code.
Yeah, and then we did less than 100 CSS, 84. But we have a...
Yes, Gillian, that's definitely, 100 balloons is a party. Is that what you expect at all your parties, Jay? If anyone's coming over, bring at least 100 balloons.
All with helium in.
All with helium. Different amounts. Different amounts, so they float off as well at different times.
Although I've never really done, I have, like, there's an admission. I don't think I've ever really done the squeaky voice thing. So maybe I need the 100 balloons so I can try it.
I think you'll probably get bored after like 2. I don't know whether that much helium will poison you or something. I don't know.
Just completely destroy your vocal cords.
For sure. Yeah. Welcome back, Chris. Yeah, I don't know. I must have annoyed YouTube because we were still talking away here, and then all the conversations started popping up that everything went bad. So I'm going to stitch this up together, and it'll look perfectly fine afterwards. I'm even going to edit myself saying it was edited, and then it'll be perfect. It'll be the perfect pretend thing. At least there's no clock in the background, you know, in The Simpsons or that, where it's just moving on by minutes.
You moved all of them for your background, right? Just like, yeah, don't need that, don't need that. You just overlay a logo on it or something.
Yeah, excellent. Is there, what else is that? I think that's most of what you have, isn't it? Too.
Well, yeah, that was the main kind of bulk of just showing like what you can do with some variables that are scoped, and Pug, and just using it to generate different scenes. Like if you were doing this locally, like you'd get something different on every save. I mean, you do get that here. The nice thing would be like if every time you loaded this page, it was something different. That would be awesome. And that's kind of what I try and do when I use the CodePen for this. I try and make like randomly kind of generated stuff. So if I look at the one that I did for the Pug demo, it was this one, which is flowers. So like these are all, this is the exact same technique. You can see it here, just inline stuff, a flower, but I'm using a stylus here. So there's stylus. You don't need to use anything. You can just freestyle, and you get everything. There are some quirks to using it, like for So if you want to mix CSS variables with stylus, you have to kind of wrap things in quotes. Can't see an example of it.
People are definitely fixated on the whole squeaky voices now in the chat. So we have people telling us there's another gas apparently that gives you a deep voice.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, Mythbusters. Yeah, I like Mythbusters. That's a cool show. Was that a TV show or was that a YouTube? It was a TV show, maybe.
Naeem is wondering, just watching the whole thing, wondering how long it will take me to do while I just learned grid a few days back.
Not long at all. And that was one thing I was going to say, actually. I'd be interested to see what people come up with. Like if anyone's got anything they want to like take from this and build their own and just show us what you make. Someone did it. I'd have to find it, but someone messaged me actually a couple of days after I did the Pug article saying like, oh, I saw your article and I saw this scoping thing, so I made this. And they made like, it was just emojis that you typed and or you clicked and they just pasted random places on the screen. And it was kind of cool. It reminded me of like the sticker bomb effect. You know, people just smash things on like laptops or something. I was like, that's really cool.
So can people tag you when they on Twitter when they have something mental made?
Yeah, I want to see it. Because it's always I love seeing what people make because it's always inspiring, right? It sparks another idea. So this person did like the emoji one, and instantly I was like, sticker bomb. So
I think you've terrified a couple of people in the chat there. I don't know how to say Tanzer Aman 99.
I'm terrible with handles.
Yeah. Although you know, a lot of times they could be just somebody sitting on a keyboard. So yeah, greatly underestimated CSS. It seems like it'll take forever. But again, knowing what you don't know is eye opening. Even the likes of like something simple here, and myself, like I've delivered a lot of pretty big applications that are used by millions of users, and I didn't ever really think of using even the HSL, which is just shows you like it's a simple thing that I definitely will use now.
That's not something I've just spun out of my head. Like, oh, you should use HSL. Like, I will in a second. Someone just put say in there. Yeah, it's not something I just spun out of my head. That actually came from Steve Shoger, Adam Wathan, their book, the Refactoring UI book, which I spoke about you with. There's actually a section in there that just says, and the title is Ditch Hex for HSL. And
I'm going to literally buy that book after this. That's Refactoring UI, and that's something that Jhey has recommended to me.
It's just full of golden nuggets.
Yeah, Refactoring UI.
If you're a dev, or even if you're just a designer, like there's so much good info in there, and it doesn't take long to get through. It's not like a big thesaurus, but the way it's worded and the things in there, like you kind of hold with you as you go on, and even if you use a few of the tips, like it's just really well done. So yeah. Pete in the chat, who I speak to often, has said, "Can you take your cap off? I always thought you had a shaved head." I don't have a shaved head, but I've had to give myself 2 haircuts during this lockdown. I get some help, but I'm one of them. I actually have like a full head on hair.
Yeah, I've similar. In fairness, I have hair that exactly just a mop on top as well.
Yep, and it goes right down, like goes in my mouth. So, but yeah, it's like a 0.5 back and sides, as low as I can get it, right up to the top. It's like Peaky Blinders.
That's all. It's trendy now, at least.
I had it a while. It's been a while. Like I had that. I can't remember when I first started going with this, but that's the thing. I pretty much always got a hat on, so people don't really see it. Like,
or you're hiding behind the cartoon face.
Yeah, all that. And it is funny. Like, yeah. I mean, I like it, and I don't get any rap for it, so that's cool. I was just thinking, like, is there anything I've ever said about my hair? I only had like if you ever play like soccer or how we pronounce it, football.
We have a different football in Ireland as well, so
yeah. But I got the whole like I can't remember. It would have been like not even when it was this long. Maybe I can't remember which season it was. It might have been last season. But the whole like I think we were smashing some team, and he's like, oh, spaghetti hair. And I cracked up. I thought it was hilarious.
But, that is actually I love nice insults like that where you're just like, how did you even ponder that?
It's it's just quite funny. Yeah, especially because like my position, like I play like defensive midfield really, so I'm in there smashing tackles, and he's like, "Oh, spaghetti hair." It's just really funny. So, so yeah, I love those kind of things. It's just hilarious. But yeah, I get that, and I often, well, it's just making me think of football now. Probably miss it, right? Because we can't play. I can't play at the moment, but I often get that. And then if I'm marking someone in the box, it's like if somebody else has a beard, it's like, oh, we're gonna stick together. Right? That's the classic like Velcro kind of reference.
One question, Stefan there is asking, do you recommend the essentials or the complete package of refactoring UI?
Depends what you need from it. The book is the same with either package, and you'll get all the design tips either way. I think the extras is like icons and assets and like example layouts. But if you didn't want to get the complete, my other recommendation would be to grab the basic and then grab that, which is Hello Web Design by Tracy Osborne. And that is also a very good design book. This is probably, I think this is the first design book I became aware of. So I don't have like a design background. I actually started a middleware developer. And this is like,
this is quite a pivot to like the flowery screen we see before us.
Yeah, totally. And this book, the actual like blurb kind of headline thing is design fundamentals and shortcuts for non-designers. Like it's a very good book. It pretty much just says like these are quick wins, use them. So, but yeah, quite a pivot for me. Quite interesting. Like I didn't even anticipate being a developer, to be honest. I wanted to be an architect. So.
Well, I thought I was going to be a rock star, so you know, at least you had reasonable aspirations.
Astronaut, that's the other one, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Is there any questions? Oh no, currently unavailable on Amazon. Did you buy them all?
Which one? Tracy Osborne's book?
Yeah, apparently.
Buy it direct. Don't buy it on Amazon.
There you go. That's even better. Yeah, give it straight to the.
Yeah,
straight to the.
She's really good as well. Like if you had any issue, like so for instance, when I ordered mine, it didn't actually turn up, and she was like, "Oh, I'm really sorry." She sent one straight out for me.
Oh, excellent! I love that kind of service as well. That's really nice.
Yeah, it's like they're the things like you really appreciate, right? And I have no issue like giving shout outs to a book whenever I can. So.
Peter has a good question there. At what point would you decide to animate using GSAP over CSS animations?
He's just trying to throw spanners in here to try and trick me, right? He knows the answer to these things.
Good question, though. I should have asked myself because it's a very good question.
Well, I always go along the line of micro interactions and, you know, any kind of small things, not too complex. I will jump at CSS animation or transitions. Anything with SVG, I tend to just jump straight for GSAP. And anything with timelines. I don't know if anyone caught, and it's another YouTuber. I don't want to pitch in on your turf, Niall, but another good YouTuber is Carl Schoof, who he does like a GSAP course, and he did like an animation challenge series where he was like,
Kyle Schoof, is that what you said?
Carl Schoof.
Yeah, maybe send me on the link after so I can actually add it to this as well, because I like to have like even the books and everything. I want to put the links in the fully edited video. So
the one where we cut out all the breaks, yeah. Snorkel TV is his handle, and he did like a really cool animation challenge thing which spanned over like I think it was like about a month, and Keyframe has covered it on their Twitch, and then there was a few of us that did it each week. And obviously the thing it was promoting was like, when you've got interesting timelines and things start getting complex, reach for a tool that's going to make your life a lot easier. So he was showing us like ways we could do something with GreenSock, but then like some of us were trying to do it in different approaches. So for me, I was trying to like manage these timelines just with CSS variables, and it just becomes like hard to maintain. And as soon as you start finding something hard to maintain, that's when you need to kind of jump to something else that's going to make your life a lot easier. You've got more than enough reasons to kind of justify it when you can say to your client or whoever it is that you have to answer to. You can just say, this is going to be making things so much easier to maintain. I can make you something more kind of polished, and it's going to take less time, which is what everyone wants to hear, right?
Absolutely. We even ourselves as developers, we all want the shortcuts. Really, that's why we have 40 gigabyte node modules. After all,
well, it's not saying that you can't do everything with CSS. Of course, like I love doing loads of these things with CSS, but just when it gets a bit complex, you kind of get a feeling for it. The more of it you do, I guess you just kind of suss like, this is going to be hard to start working out, because obviously you can chain, and I guess if people weren't too aware, you can chain translates. You can chain animations on elements. So you can chain the name, the delay, you can chain it all, which makes things, kind of, it can get really complex. I'll show because I'm still sharing screen, I can show what I did as part of the challenge, actually. So we had, I have to go through these. I could just search it, but I don't think it's too far back. There we go. So this was like, he was doing these challenges where we did like boxes that like meet each other, and then we did like a 3B, if you will, which was a play on the actual the final one. But yeah, like for this, there's multiple animations happening. So like here, animation name, the first one's horizontal, then it's vertical. There's 2 durations.
Oh, nice. That's something that's new to me as well, that you could chain them like that.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, but when you start going down that route, so like you're going to have to start chaining the animation fill mode, and you're going to have to start working out how your timeline works. So like you could chain the animation name, you could have like fade, then spin, but they're going to happen at the same time. So you're going to have to like calculate where one ends, one starts, and that's when it starts becoming like a bit of a maintenance like hell, because you're kind of like, oh, now I've got to keep on top of it all. And that's when variables come into play and you can start calculating it all. But at what point do you say this is too much? Like, this is just getting too complex. Is it 1 chain? Is it 2? Like, it depends what you're animating. So it's kind of a very
no, it makes sense. I wouldn't. My maths has never been strong, so I would definitely just get really lost really quickly once you start, figuring out what should happen when.
But I mean, you can kind of see how crazy it gets here. Like, this is one line working out the animation delay for one thing, and it's like the fade speed plus the horizontal waiting time plus the fade speed. Like, this is 2 delays, so this one's the fade speed plus the horizontal speed plus the vertical wait, and it's like, and yeah, you can do it, but it's going to be a lot easier for, like, that's the one big thing, right, with coding is you're not always working solo on this stuff. You're working in teams of people, and you need to be considerate of the people that you work with, who might look at this code in the future, might have no idea what they're looking at. So try and make things as verbose as possible for whoever's going to see it. Like, it's like, I always think of like, good example is like when people do like complex ternaries or something, maybe, or something like that, and you could just use an if because most people know what the if is. Some people haven't seen ternary before if they're new to JavaScript. So yeah, I guess that's I could go off on a tangent. So
absolutely. At this time, I'm nearly afraid that YouTube will cut our tangents at this stage. Is there
although it's been stable since we hit the balloons, so if I bring them back, maybe it'll
tempting fate now, that's all. Just don't speed them up. As long as they don't party too hard, we should be okay.
Yeah.
Is there any more questions? If not, I'm going to let Jhey plug some of his stuff on his handles and things so that you can find him, because I have to say he's probably the most interesting person to follow on Twitter for sure, because of the crazy stuff he does that makes you feel terrible about your ability.
Don't feel that. You can always ask me. You can always ask me for stuff. I try not to blush.
Excellent. Yeah, I don't think there's any more questions. So so where can everyone find you, and what are you working on?
There's no more questions because the stream has probably stopped or something, and we're just unaware. I'm joking.
Oh, you're saying that now. I'm looking.
There's like a hay bale emoji in there. Then we'll know we're still online.
Yeah.
It's tumbleweed. But no, yeah, we're still on. Chris has said something. So, but yeah, the main places. Yeah, I guess Twitter. The handle is JH3YY, not Y. That was taken. So 2 Ys. I'm pretty sure. Let me just double check.
I have the link. I will have the links in the description of everything as well.
JH3YY. And then CodePen is JH3Y. Twitch, I stream. That's one thing I forgot to mention actually. I stream all this stuff, most of it when I make it. So what I do is, so Twitter is probably where I'm most active, I guess, and with my time. That's what I do is on a Monday, I post out an options poll for what I might make on the Friday, and I'm trying this week. I'm trying to keep it a bit more short format and not giving away what it might be. And then on the Friday, I basically say what I'm going to make. So, and then I make it live on Twitch, which is Twitch. And that one's 2 Ys as well, I think. So, yeah, that one's 2 Ys, JH3YY. So I basically walk through, and quite good actually on the stream. I basically walk through opening my editor, coming up with the idea, brainstorming it, designing it, and making it all in one. There's no smoke and mirrors, there's no scripts, there's no rehearsals. It's damn right raw.
Which is nice to see, because I think people just assume, especially like this is something, and I think this is worth mentioning, that this is a very well rehearsed piece for you. This is these shapes and these kind of things. So I suppose like it's we're seeing a nice simple path, I suppose, and a lot of developers get this kind of overwhelming sense when they see this because they've never done it before. And you have to remember, Jhey's comfortable doing this because he's done this a good few times now before, and it comes with anything. You have to make sure you keep on practicing these techniques and tricks, or else they'll never stick.
Yeah, I mean, like for instance, this one was kind of great in a way because we had ideas that I was going to do something mad, and I was kind of worried, like, what if it doesn't go to plan? But that does happen, and you see that on the stream when it happens. Like, I can have not a meltdown, but I can be like, I can't see how I'm going with this. So you see that journey, but this was something that was quite safe because I do it like there's no rehearsal here. I literally shared a picture of the balloons with you, Niall, and we just said, right, we're going to make that. So you've seen the journey here. Like I've not hidden it.
For sure. I think we talked about the meetup, maybe out of maybe 100 messages, we maybe had 2 messages about the actual content.
Yeah.
The rest was just like talking nonsense the rest of the time.
That's a lot of trust from Niall there.
Yeah. I think if anyone, you see, I do these meetups in person usually in Dublin, and people do usually see me. I usually end up like drinking at them, and it's very casual. So people are used to me just kind of getting like just relaxing and letting things get ruined. I think it's only happened once where it went completely awful and we had to actually leave. So
I kind of prefer that, like not that kind of chaos maybe, but like I prefer that kind of casual approach. That's why I was more than happy to jump in and do this with you, because it's kind of nice when it's not too, people can just throw out questions or whatever, and we can just jam on something and make something cool.
Excellent. And I'm sure people will be annoying you from here on Twitch as well, because that's it's, as I said, you're making some awesome stuff. I look like, especially that Pokemon themed stuff you were going around.
Yeah, I've got some more of them on the way. That's the thing as well. Like there's so many ideas of things to make. Like I need extra time in my day. So But yeah, the Twitch stuff's still kind of relatively new. I feel like I've been doing it ages, but I'm still picking up stuff as I go along. But like I said, I've got a few people kind of helping me out behind the scenes to make things a bit better. And yeah, it's cool. It's kind of cool. People jump in with that as well, like and share things. And I just sort of, you can always jump on and ask me any random questions, even if it's not related to what I'm doing.
Yeah, you get asked about your handstands a lot.
I get asked about, I can't remember what I got asked about the other day. I got asked about something really weird. I was like, yep, cool. We'll just churn that out. So
yeah, I have to love the internet.
yeah.
I think everyone's gone quiet now, so I think this is your time to escape and actually hopefully get some dinner and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a chilled one. Very
Yeah,
chilled one.
I'm gonna end the stream here anyway. So thanks a million to everyone who came. We do these every month. I think actually Chris Dixon is doing the next one. So I think we're doing an introduction to Vue on the next one as well. So that'll be very interesting as well. Chris has been teaching online for a long time now. So yeah, that'll be another great one.
We're looking forward to the comments on that one when everyone starts going Vue or React.
Yeah, yeah, this is gonna be like Dino Node stuff all over again. All right.
Throw the petrol on that fire now.
Exactly. Yeah, we save some of your best Vue versus React questions for Chris on the next stream. It's going to be brilliant.
You've got time to come up with them, so it's
yeah,
brilliant.
make sure they're damning. Have your facts ready. Here, you've been warned.